Hello everyone, welcome to Ray Scroll Manhwa. Here is chapter 301 of Nano Machine. If you enjoy it, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you have a pleasant time watching. Wind White Tiger, one of the 5 legendary divine beasts. Among those 5 divine beasts, Wind White Tiger is the only entity whose dwelling place is well known to the mortal world. That location is none other than the Changbai mountain range to the east. This divine beast was meticulously recorded in the 3 great mysterious books, the records of divine beasts. However, no one knows exactly in which era these mystical creatures praised as divine beasts first appeared, nor where their bloodlines originated. According to the ancients' tales, after traveling through the proper current of time, when their spiritual energy accumulates to the highest realm, they will transform and ascend to the heavens. Like martial artists who cultivate to the extreme and break through the void, like 2 monks who attain enlightenment and become Buddhas, transcending the mundane to become immortals. Approaching Changbai Mountain, Qinyaon and Eastern caste gods sliced through the wind, racing through the ancient forest. Their speed was so great that their figures were only afterimages. The male lead turned to ask Eastern caste god whether the words ascend were the same as what he was imagining now. At Qinyaon's sincere question, Eastern caste god nodded without saying anything and continued to adjust his flying speed forward. The male lead glanced toward that gloomy, cold mountain peak, hardly fitting the name Wind White Tiger. It looked as if it had stepped out of hell. Eastern caste god explained in a low voice that because it could not ascend, its spiritual energy had been gnawed by rage and resentment, which turned it into that form. Eastern caste god had not forgotten that dreadful time. The moment the sacred beast of Changbai Mountain howled in heart-wrenching sorrow, roaring in its impotent fury. Its appearance gradually turned into a demon like a Tula from hell, covering the world in destruction, an image forever etched in my mind. The male lead frowned at his confession, a thought flashing through his mind. I feel like I've seen a similar situation somewhere before. Suddenly he looked at the black wrist guard on his right arm. Heavenly Demon Sword. When I first obtained it in the spiritual world, I saw a man whom I thought was the Heavenly Demon ancestor. That man had severed the horn off a Jaialong as it was about to soar into the sky like a true dragon. Since I only saw it through an illusion, I assumed it was merely a Jaialong turning black. But unexpectedly, it was a monster that shook heaven and earth, changing the colors of the world. Thinking of the Jaialong's snow-white body turning black made my pupils contract violently. Could that Jaialong have degenerated too? Such a terrifying monster was easily decapitated by the heavenly demon ancestor into dozens of pieces with a single strike. The more I learned, the more I admired his cultivation. The heavenly demon ancestor had surely reached the realm of the gods. That's also why the character's sword was carved on the old cliff. By himself, he made the heroes of the world bow. But to reach that realm, what must I do? As if remembering something, the male lead turned to ask Eastern caste god whether Wind White Tiger had been disturbed while trying to ascend. This question immediately startled Eastern caste god. The expression on his face grew stiff. It seemed some unpleasant events had occurred that he did not want to speak of. Qinyaon thought it must be a private matter and decided not to ask further, not wanting to touch the pain he always buried. But Eastern caste god suddenly spoke with a bitter look. Over 100 years ago, after losing his most precious friend, he became like this. A precious comrade. Yes, that person was also my longtime confidant. He was such an interesting fellow that even the guardian beast of Changbai Mountain, whom everyone feared, became friends with him. If only he hadn't died in vain, none of today's events would have happened. Eastern caste god felt immense regret. His death caused so many subsequent consequences that even a divine beast on the verge of ascending to the immortal realm had to give up and became corrupted. A mighty roar echoed across Changbai Mountain that anyone could hear. Seeing the sky covered with black and red clouds, Eastern caste god gritted his teeth. But why had he never broken a promise in nearly 100 years? Yet today he returned to his original form. What on earth happened while I was away, could it be? Back half an hour earlier at the eastern side of Changbai Mountain, the old man wearing a conical hat asked Lord Huang Hyul, "It seems a blood battle just broke out to our north. We must not miss this once-in-a-millennium opportunity." Huang Hyul pondered for a moment, then answered. I heard a rumor that near the mountain peak there's a land where spiritual energy converges abundantly. So let's make that our first destination to investigate. Not long after, they finally arrived at a vast lake thick with spiritual energy. Wow, I didn't expect such a tranquil lake to exist atop this high peak. Truly a place worthy of a sacred mountain. Quickly search the entire area. Rumor has it Wind White Tiger is 3 times the size of a normal fierce tiger, so finding its traces should be easy. As you command. With that, they immediately split up to act. After a laborious search, one subordinate discovered Wind White Tiger sitting cross-legged, recuperating beside the life lake. "Who's that sitting over there?" The subordinate couldn't make out his form yet, but judging by how he's circulating his chi, it looks like he's seriously wounded. Where did he go? Wind White Tiger appeared like a gust of wind before these two, startling them into exclamations. "What the hell? What is this? How could he approach us without making a sound?" Hearing these rats mutter, Wind White Tiger bared his teeth and snarled, "You mongrel scum, who gave you the nerve to prowl this sacred place? Die for me." With those words, Wind White Tiger turned into a butcher, slicing their limbs off as fresh blood sprayed everywhere. Hearing his subordinates' heart-wrenching screams, Hwang Hyul panicked and ordered, "Stop that madman at once. Left Grand Elder, right Grand Elder, there seems to be a battle below." With that, he stepped forward proactively. On that side, a slaughter unfolded. Each blade sent a cold head tumbling, and no one could stop Wind White Tiger. While wildly hacking down those insect-like worms before him, Wind White Tiger laughed. "You damned Central Plains, aside from using superior numbers, don't you have any more interesting tricks?" When Hwang Hyul arrived and witnessed the massacre, he froze. Whether analyzing or terrified, he no longer dared act rashly. Right Grand Elder spoke. "This isn't the Central Plains tongue. Could he be of the eastern tribes guarding this place?" Left Grand Elder interjected. "What kind of bizarre blade technique is that? I've never seen anything like it." Cold sweat ran down Hwang Hyul's face as he cautiously considered. The power behind those blades rivals the ultimate blade god arts. Could there be another master hiding here besides Eastern caste god? Seeing their superiors silent and the subordinates dwindling, Left Grand Elder couldn't help but draw his blade. "It seems we have no retreat. Lord Hwang Hyul, if this continues, the entire army will be annihilated. Then how will we face the Blade Master? So I will personally slay him." With that, he tossed off his conical hat and executed a lightning-fast technique into the battlefield. Hwang Hyul moved to stop Left Grand Elder but was cut off by Right Grand Elder. "Lord Hwang Hyul, please rest assured, the level of insight into the ultimate blade god arts that he has even surpasses mine." In his murderous frenzy, Wind White Tiger suddenly sensed a streak of killing intent approaching. He immediately raised his blade, blocking Left Grand Elder's unexpected attack. Seeing his prey react so quickly, Left Grand Elder couldn't help but praise, "Interesting, but could you stop your rampage? That behavior is no different from a wild beast." Wind White Tiger basically didn't understand the old man's words. He curled his lips in a cold laugh and snapped, "What nonsense are you spouting, you irritating donkey?" This time, the old man, offended by the taunt, sheathed his blade and launched a powerful kick straight into his chest. Aiming to strike with a full-force attack, Wind White Tiger's body was blasted cleanly backward. It skidded along the water for a while before it could steady itself. Having just been pulverized by the male lead not long ago, now it was humiliated by this pig. Wind White Tiger's eyes flashed bloodily as he snarled, "Who do you think you've just messed with? Fine, I'll rip that head stabber to pieces until he dies." Sensing the killer intent in his words, Left Grand Elder ordered his subordinates, "Everyone fall back, I'll personally finish this madman. Though I don't understand what he's barking about, for some reason he's intolerable to me." The subordinates awkwardly complied and withdrew from the fighting range. Seeing them retreat, Left Grand Elder drove his foot into the water and leaped up to attack. Kang, 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 the clash of blade and sword rang painfully. They traded dozens of moves, and neither side yielded. Swinging his blade, the old man laughed coldly. "Strange, your blade art is already bizarre, yet every move you unleash is a killing blow. Fascinating, ha ha ha, this is unexpectedly interesting." On Wind White Tiger's side, seeing the old man continuously perform moves of the ultimate blade god art, Wind White Tiger's eyes flashed with focus. "What technique is this?" Thud, a slash slammed into the water, forcing Left Grand Elder to stagger back. He couldn't help asking, "What? We were fighting with such fervor. Why do you suddenly stop the duel?" Suddenly, Wind White Tiger dropped his blade, his voice laced with barely contained rage. "The technique you used, I have seen it before." "You are Hugh?" Left Grand Elder, not yet grasping the seriousness, blinked and asked stupidly, "What nonsense are you muttering? I can't make sense of you, this is annoying." "You bastards!" Wind White Tiger roared, a dangerous aura and all his spiritual power erupted crazily. His body began to deform and his fangs lengthened. In the blink of an eye, his body swelled to the size of a giant, 10 meters tall. A blood-curdling scream of who no one knew rang out, and suddenly the entire surface of the lake exploded skyward. Next, the head stabber who had attacked right where the Blade God Sock's martial clan stood was struck. His arm was severed. The subordinates panicked and dragged him up. A terrifying spiritual force was charging in. Everyone, fall back from the lake immediately. Huang Hyul and Right Grand Elder flew over at the same time. He couldn't help asking, Left Grand Elder, are you all right? Left Grand Elder, holding his bleeding arm, snapped at the fool. Are you blind? I just lost an arm. Do I look all right? What a stupid question. At that moment, through the column of water shooting into the sky, a vague giant shadow with two pupils glowing blood red began advancing. The Blade God Sox martial clan members involuntarily stepped back and cried out in fear. What the hell is that? Could it be When White Tiger's roar? That roar, like a lion's bellow, shattered dozens and hundreds of martial artists' eardrums. The rest immediately used their chi to plug their ears, but still suffered internal injuries as blood sprayed like fountains. Right Grand Elder, witnessing this, was wide-eyed. How could a man turn into such a horrific monster? What the hell is happening here? Left Grand Elder sat on the ground, clutching his ruined arm, and shouted, Are you stupid? You've seen it with your own eyes and still haven't woken up. He's fundamentally not human. Huang Hyul's face turned pale. He couldn't believe it. One roar was enough to kill most of our Blade God Sox martial clan's subordinates. Terrifying, Blade Master, how do you expect us to kill it and bring back its origin core now? They looked at the black tails exactly like the ones described in the will the Blade Master left behind. Chills and a hint of, well, comedic irony at the terrible resemblance. With those razor-red eyes glaring, Huang Hyul panicked. Could this be the white tiger we've been painstakingly searching for? It looked as if it could easily surpass a height of 90 zhang. The tiger's roar shook the heavens, the sky turned into a scene from hell, and the black flies scattered in frantic search of survival. Wind White Tiger, in a ferocious stance, its black fur and red stripes towering like a god, appeared. Its aura made the surrounding air tremble. This earth-shaking sight left the three of them frozen in place, part awe, part wanting to laugh nervously at the absurdity.